Hey guys, I've decided that since it's 2018, it's a new year, every month I'm going to be doing a wrap-up video of all of the movies, television shows and books that I've seen in that month. The main reason I wanted to start this series, if you will, is just to keep track really of all the movies, TV shows and books that I've watched/read, because I do like to look back on things. I don't know if you guys do as well. And I've never really kept a log of books, TV shows and movies I've read in a month. So this is my January wrap up, and like I said, I will do one for every month of the year, and who knows, maybe I'll start doing it full time from now on. January has been very busy for me, but I have managed to cram in a lot of movies, TV shows. Not so many books this month as I would like. I normally read a lot more books. Let's start with movies. The first movie I watched this month was on Netflix, and it is a movie called Gerald's Game, which is adapted from a book by Stephen King. Now, I'm a huge Stephen King fan, but I've never read Gerald's Game. I saw it advertised on Netflix and I thought I've got to watch that. It looks absolutely amazing. The basic premise of Gerald's Game is a couple decide to go to this cabin, this sort of retreat, to sort of rekindle their love life and their marriage, and he brings a pair of handcuffs with him. And he handcuffs her to the bed for some, for some fun, and she decides she's not into it, she doesn't like it, so they start arguing while she's handcuffed to the bed, and he actually has a heart attack and dies, and it's very psychological because she's stuck then handcuffed to the bed. So the whole premise of the film is, how the heck do I get out of these handcuffs before I die? And it's just such a good psychological film. It's not as scary as you would think it would be, being written by Stephen King. It's not a horror in my opinion. It is just a good psychological, brain, thought-provoking film, and the whole premise, like I said, is her trying to get off this bed, out of these handcuffs, and there is a very big twist at the end, and I'm not going to say the twist, there will be no spoilers in this wrap-up, but the twist was amazing. The next two films I watched I actually have on DVD, and that is Scooby-Doo 1 and Scooby-Doo 2, because you have to watch one straight after the other, right? So after the film that was Gerald's Game, I needed something light-hearted, and you love a bit of Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo's my favourite cartoon, and I'm in love with these films. So I went for something a bit more light-hearted, and that's where we got Scooby-Doo from. Then I watched on TV The Full Monty. Again, I've watched The Full Monty far too many times than is necessary. I watched that with my mum. These men need money desperately, so they decide to become strippers, and it's just a fantastic film. So funny. Then I watched Vampires Suck. Again, it was happened to be on the TV. I have watched it before, and I can't really say much about it other than it is a Twilight parody, and it's just a bit of fun, isn't it really? Nothing really thought-provoking there. Then I watched two short films, and I don't normally watch short films, but both of these are accessible on YouTube. If you don't know by now, which you should do, I am a huge Natalie Dormer fan, and I found out she was in two short films called The Roof, which is a 10-minute short, and The Brunches, which is a 20-minute short, both accessible on YouTube, like I said. Not much I can really say about them, but The Roof features a lot of famous people, and it's just a very funny sketch. And The Brunches, again, is just a nice light-hearted sketch. Then I watched Beetlejuice. Again, it was on TV. Of course I've seen Beetlejuice before. It's Tim Burton. I'm a huge Tim Burton fan, and I love Beetlejuice. Then I watched Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Again, it's one of my all-time favourite films. It just happened to be on TV. I watched it with my parents. My mum is a huge Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves fan, and of course Alan Rickman. And they actually showed the extended edition on TV, so there was some scenes that mum hadn't seen before. I do have the extended edition. Again, not much I can say about it. It's just a fantastic film, and if you haven't seen Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, I highly recommend it. And the final film I watched in January was Would You Rather, which is a horror film. I watched this on Netflix. Again, I've seen Would You Rather more times than I need to. I think it was my 4th run through. And it is a horror film. Like I said, the basic premise is these people are in desperate need of cash. The main woman, her brother, is dying of cancer, I believe, and she desperately needs money. So she's introduced to this man. They all go to his house for a dinner party, and it's a classic game of Would You Rather, but with some very serious consequences. That's all of the movies, quite a fair few. Next we're on to the TV shows. This will be the bulk of the video, and I'm sorry if it runs for quite a long time. First of all, I watched Residue, which is on Netflix. It's only 3 parts. There is only 3 episodes, which is horrible. Residue I actually started just before New Year's, so I didn't start it in January, but it's only 3 episodes, like I said. It stars Natalia Tina, who I absolutely adore, and Ewan Ryan, who you guys may know for playing Ramsay Bolton in Game of Thrones, but I know he's also been in a lot of other things. And it ended on a bloody cliffhanger, and I don't know if they have any plans to release any more episodes, so I'm absolutely gutted, but it was fantastic, so they really need to release more. Then another thing I started just before New Year's, so it technically doesn't count, but I'm going to include it, is of course Torchwood. So if you've been keeping up with my channel, I started Torchwood for the first ever time this year. I've never watched it before, and I have finished season 1. And by the time this video goes up, you will have seen my episodes 9 and 10 review, I think, and then next week, episodes 11, 12 and 13, the review will be up. So I'm not going to talk about Torchwood a lot, because if you guys have been checking out my channel, I have been doing weekly reviews on Torchwood. Next, I've been continuing to watch Star Trek Discovery this month. Absolutely fantastic. I watch it with my dad. It's very sentimental. It's got a very special meaning for me. I've mentioned this before. Then I watched a couple of episodes of Diamond Decades on the TV. Star Trek Discovery is Netflix, by the way. Diamond Decades is basically a series revolving around the Queen and the royal family and the things that were going on in the royal family in that decade, but also the things that were going on outside of the royal family, if that makes sense. So far I've watched the 1970s episode and the 1990s episode, so I still need to watch the 50s, 60s, 80s and noughties episodes. Then I watched England's Forgotten Queen, The Life and Death of Lady Jane Grey, which was fantastic. That was a 3-parter. And if you don't know, I'm a huge Tudor fan. I'm sure you probably do know that by now. And Lady Jane Grey was the first queen that we had, and she was called the 9 Days Queen because she only reigned for 9 days. If you don't know the story, you definitely should check it out. Basically, Henry VIII's son, Edward, when he died, he changed the line of succession, so Lady Jane Grey would get the throne rather than his half-sister, Mary I. And there's a whole thing about it, and it was just a fantastic documentary. Then, of course, I did put EastEnders down because I always watch EastEnders. Not really much to say. I've been watching EastEnders for a very, very long time now. I don't even know how long. Next, I wrote down Dancing on Ice, which I've been watching sporadically. I don't think I've watched it start to finish, really. Dancing on Ice is still ongoing. I've been catching bits of it. It's been on the telly when I've fancied it, but I haven't really watched the entire thing. Then I watched The Coronation, which was a one-off episode on the TV about the Queen's coronation, and it showed you some of the crown jewels and the Queen talking about them, and it was just a really nice documentary. Next up, I've put Dragon's Den down. I have been watching Dragon's Den. I always watch Dragon's Den. It's one of my guilty pleasures. Next up, I've got Love and Hate Crime. If you guys don't know, I think it's on BBC 3. There is a series called Love and Hate Crime. I've only actually watched the 1 episode, which was Double Lives, and it was a very, very interesting, very sad episode. And it's this, and again, no spoilers, but it's this guy who killed his girlfriend because he discovered that his girlfriend was actually a man, had male genitalia, I should say, and he killed her because of that. However, he was also related with a gang who were homophobic and things like that, so it's all about, did he really kill her because he discovered she was a man, or did he kill her because the gang discovered she was a man? So it was all about that. And the final TV show I watched this month is 6 Wives with Lucy Worsley. So 6 Wives, again, is a Tudor documentary about Henry VIII's 6 wives, but the way it's done is fantastic. So that's all the TV shows I watched this month. Finally, we're on to the books. Again, I'm very sorry if this is a long video. I didn't read that many books this month. Like I said, I usually read a lot more than this. I actually only read 5 books this month, which is not very good for me. But we'll get on with, I finished Game of Thrones Book 3 Part 1 again. I am doing a Game of Thrones reread I have read all of the books. Again, I actually started this before New Year's, so I haven't read the entirety of it in January. I did start before New Year's, but I finished it in January, if that counts. Next up, I went on eBay because I used to be obsessed with Ladybird books, and I'm sure you guys know what they are. And I used to have a lot of Ladybird books when I was younger, however I've got rid of all of them. So I went on eBay to buy back a couple of the Ladybird books that I enjoyed when I was younger. They are very, very quick reads because they are for children. But we have Diana, Princess of Wales. This is a book I had when I was younger, and I obviously got rid of it and I decided to buy it back. And then the other two Ladybird classic books I bought was the first Queen Elizabeth, which is of course about Elizabeth I, Henry VIII's daughter, and Boleyn's daughter, and of course I am obsessed with Anne Boleyn a little bit. So there's that one, and Kings and Queens book 2, which as you can see has Henry VIII on the cover and Elizabeth I on the back. So just two quick, easy children's Tudor books. And the final book this month, I actually haven't quite finished yet, but I've decided to include it, and it is Doctor Who, The Story of Martha. Now, if you watch my Christmas haul, I got this for Christmas. I have read this before. I think I had a library copy or something like that, and I'm rereading it now. As you can see, I've only got this little bit left to finish, so I thought I'd include it, because by the time this video goes up, I will have finished it. So that is all of the movies, TV shows, and books that I watched/read in January. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you would like to see more of these. I hope you do, because I'm enjoying it. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye!